The White House and the Pentagon say the U.S. is on track to fully withdraw from Afghanistan by the end of the month. Thousands of people still need to be evacuated from the country. Some fear that everyone will not get out in time. Secretary of State Antony Blinken addressed this concern Wednesday.
Let me be crystal clear about this. There is no deadline on our work to help any remaining American citizens who decide they want to leave to do so, along with the many Afghans who have stood by us over these many years and want to leave and have been unable to do so. That effort will continue every day past August 31st.
For more, I want to bring in Christopher Miller. He is the former acting Secretary of Defense and chairman of the Special Operations Association of America. Thank you for being here. So the Taliban have warned of consequences if foreign forces remain after the deadline agreed to with the U.S. But as we heard Secretary Blinken say, evacuation efforts could go past the end of the month. How might this all play out?
Lana, thanks a ton for having me on. This is such an important issue. It's a bipartisan issue, and it's above politics. Right now, we just have to do everything we can to support this effort. I don't know if you've heard this, but there's an enormous community of Americans that are giving their time and their money and just putting enormous amounts of effort into it. And they call this the digital Dunkirk. You'll also hear it called the aerial Dunkirk. And citizens are stepping forward. And right now, I just beg everyone to lean in as much as they can. We have a couple days left. We just have to get everybody out we can. It's just such a tragic occasion. It's a tragic set of circumstances. And holy cow, the only thing that motivates me is the way that Americans are coming together and doing everything they can to take care of folks on this one. So it's really magnificent. I hope the government will assist these efforts and, knock on wood, let's do everything we can to get as many people out as we can before the deadline.
Well, Christopher, as you said, this is widely popular among Republicans and Democrats, the safe evacuation. So what can the U.S. do to make sure that American citizens and Afghan interpreters and others who supported U.S. troops are not stranded in hostile territory after that August 31st deadline?
It's a great question. Thanks for asking it. And, I don't want to come across as some political trope who's, bad-mouthing anybody, because at this point, the old days where politics stopped at the water's edge were really good days, and I thought were really good for America. I just really think there's enormous potential in the civilian sector to assist in these final days. I get the sense, and from what I hear on the ground and the people I'm in contact with, tons of great people, Special Operations Association of America being one. You've got Mighty Oaks, you've got Checovet, you've got so many of these great folks out there. What they really need is a clearinghouse with the U.S. government to help in these final days. It's still a little dysfunctional. It's still a little rusty. And at this point, we just got to get this thing meshed together. For instance, I'll give you a simple example. Wouldn't it be great if there was one clearinghouse, if there was some sort of public service announcement that went out online as well as on TV and radio where people knew who to contact. Right now, it's very balkanized and kind of disaggregated. So that's kind of my hope, is that in these final couple hours, we get something together so people know who to call and how to do that. It's extremely complicated, extremely difficult. Don't take anything away. We got great folks on the ground, 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit, 82nd Airborne, 10th Mountain. The Air Force is doing just an unbelievable job. Every American should be enormously proud of what they're doing. They need our support, but we really need to look after the fact at how this went so badly. And I totally agree with the chairman, General Austin, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Austin, Secretary of Defense, that there'll be a time for that. But we really need to, we can do better as a country than this.
I appreciate the context that you're giving and the idea that politics are supposed to end at the water's edge. Since you were acting Secretary of Defense under former President Trump, I want to know, do you believe that the Taliban takeover was inevitable?
Absolutely not. It was completely the Taliban were going to win. Yes, I want to be perfectly clear about that. They had won this war. absolutely fundamentally into the marrow of my bones believe that we could have brought this into a different, we could have established some sort of process that wouldn't have been such cataclysmic chaos that we saw starting on Sunday. And I mean, that's easy for me to say sitting here in Washington, D.C., and I understand that. But I also was a career special operator. I was an Army Green Beret. I went into Afghanistan in 2001 on December 5th. Feel pretty confident that I know how the Afghan military works. I'm never going to say I'm an expert. Anybody that says they're an expert on anything in Afghanistan, you automatically need to make sure they didn't take your wallet at the same time. However, I think there was a process available for us to support the Afghan National Security Forces in the final battles that could have bought us some time and probably brought along, created the conditions to establish some sort of coalition government that we would have had more control of in the final days as we try to get our people out.
Well, Christopher, given where we are right now, do you believe that America's mission in Afghanistan, once the people who want to be removed and evacuated are successfully evacuated, do you believe that America's mission in Afghanistan will then be complete?
No, we still have to maintain awareness of what international terrorist groups that have the ability to attack us in the United States are doing. So, no, I hate to say this, but I fear that our involvement in Afghanistan is merely on sabbatical for a while. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope that our children never have to go over there again. But I'll tell you what, it's up to the Taliban right now. Let's see how they respond and how they govern. I really hope they're a learning organization and have recognized that they can't do what they did last time. I'm not optimistic, but like Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. Let's give them a chance.
Well, speaking of the Taliban, they're seeking legitimacy. They would like to be recognized by other countries. Do you believe that they will reach this point? Is it in America's strategic interests to allow that to happen, given, as you say, that the United States has an invested interest in making sure that terrorism is not allowed to continue to grow in Afghanistan, that there are greater interests for the U.S. that remain at stake there?
I desperately hope, as an American, not as a Trump appointee, but just as an American citizen, that's how I'm speaking to you now, that the Taliban, we can establish some sort of relationship with them and help them become a meaningful participant in the global order of nations. I'm going to go off script a bit. I got to tell you, there's a guy over there, Mark Farrix, who's being held hostage by the Taliban. He was Navy veteran, a contractor over there, taken in December 2020. I hear this talk about everybody wanting to, make sure every American that wants to get home gets home. I'm telling you, I'm speaking for Mark, and he can beat me up when he gets back home. But I'm telling you, Mark wants to come home, and I really hope we're taking a look at him as well, because he is an American citizen that wants to come home. And that's the promise that has been issued by this country.
Christopher Miller, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your insight into the promises made and how we're trying to keep them. Thank you.
Thank you, and all the best and thanks for airing this segment. It's really important that the American people continue to be so magnificent in their compassion and their empathy.
The Biden administration is facing criticism from its allies overseas for its handling of Afghanistan. Leaders in the UK are among those raising questions about President Biden's strategy. CBS News contributor Simon Bates reports for this week's London Calling. And as a reminder, Simon's opinions are his own, not necessarily reflective of CBSN.
The crisis